Hello and welcome to the 5 Minute Call, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the stories of the people that make theatre happen.
In this episode, we're talking to Lily Kerhoas.
Lily has studied in France, the UK and internationally, learning and evolving as a singer.
She's most recently played pivotal roles such as Cosette in Les Miserables and Christine in Phantom of the Opera.
Members of the company, this is your 5-minute call. All beginners, please make your way to the stage. This is your 5-minute call. Your 5-minute call.
Hi, Lily.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us on the 5-minute call.
Thank you.
Very
for
lovely to
having
have you
me.
here.
Thank you so much.
We are fascinated to know your story as to how you got to where you are now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
About all of it, like
All
in
of
one
it.
go.
Start. So how does little Lily
yeah.
get into singing?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cute. So, my mum is a singer. My dad has always been in music. He's not a musician professionally, but I've been around musical theatre and singing and all of that, listening to my mum warming up every day. So for me, it was very normal. I'm from Paris, so didn't speak English when I was little.
And is she a classical singer?
Yeah, she's more of a classical singer, but big fan of musical theatre and like English American musical theatre. And I actually was into dancing more, or I was a gymnast as well when I was little. So I was very physical, and I loved all the dancey bit, like, West Side Story, Singing in the Rain. I was a big fan of Gene Kelly. So I was more into that. And my mom was like, do you want to sing at some point? And I said, no, because it looks really boring to warm up every day.
Not wrong.
Yeah. So I was singing a lot, but as a hobby kind of thing, not really thinking about it. And I think my first actual singing lesson was when I was 16. So it's not late, but when I say that to people, they're like, oh, okay. Like I wasn't in a choir. I wasn't, I didn't have that kind of thing. I was more like in the dance bit. So yeah, I started at 16 in a school in Paris, like a professional musical theatre school, like a 3-year program while I was doing my high school as well at the same time. And I think in my brain, the moment that changed in terms of, I want to be on stage, was when I saw Billy Elliot in London, because I was 13. Yeah, I was 13. So I was the same age as the little boy, and I was like, I want to be him. So this crazy dream started when I was 13 properly. Like I stepped out the theatre and I said to my parents, I want to do that. Let's just, look for schools and, so, but the actual like singing was 16. It came a bit after. Yeah.
That's so decisive though
It
as
is.
well.
Yeah.
At 13 and that's what I
My
wanna
brain
do.
switched. Yeah.
What happened then between 13 and 16?
So I knew that I wanted to study in London because I've always loved this city. I wanted to be on a West End stage because the standards and it was incredible to see, and I wasn't really seeing that in France or Paris. It wasn't the same. It's not the same culture, basically. So I knew in my head, I was like, I know it's not going to happen now because I'm 13. So what I need to do is start to familiarize myself with singing, dancing, and just knowing what the plan would be. So I thought I need to finish my, I think middle school, is it like before high school here? How do you say? Is it middle school?
Yeah, we don't have that here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right before
yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
So finished my that, and then I found this program where I could do the high school in the morning and then a professional like musical theatre school in the afternoon. It was 2 separate things. So I was doing like 2 degrees at the same time because I'm very impatient. So I was like, I need to do that. And then I thought, so I'm going to train like all the basic stuff in Paris, trying to learn English as much as I could. And then worked in Paris because I needed experience. I was like, I need to know how it feels to be on stage. And then I was preparing my auditions for drama school and see what was possible. So at 13, I was like, the plan is clear. I need to do this to be able to like be in a drama school in London.
And was there anybody guiding you in that?
Oh, my parents, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm an only child, so they were always very supportive of this dream, and they were like, I think they were very happy that I have found a clear kind of understanding of what I wanted to do. And they were like, basically, if you want to be on a West End stage, you need to be in the city. You need to learn from them. You can't stay in a comfort zone in your Parisian flat, just dreaming of and looking at YouTube or whatever. You need to do. And so I've always felt an amazing space for me to dream big with my parents. But also they were like, but this is your thing. You have to figure it out on your own. We can support you financially. We can, guide you, all of that. But this is your thing. You have to make it your own, basically. And there's one thing that I remember from my dad. He said, when you have like a bit of doubts and it was, it's hard, you have obstacles and stuff. So I was talking to him and he said to me, the thing is, if you dream of Gene Kelly, you have to aim for it. Aim for Gene Kelly and you'll see, because I was a big fan of that. So you'll see, don't restrict yourself, basically.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I think it gave me a lot of like energy. I knew they were here, but I've always been a very determined, decisive kid, and ambitious. So that helped a lot to not like, I was very, I need to do this. Yeah, so yeah.
And how was it practicing at home? I ask that with some level of personal curiosity. I had musician parents and I found it very difficult to practice at home.
So that they like, when you like, if they hear you or
Are
something?
they going to hear you make a
I
mistake?
hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it. I remember before going into musical theatre school, like training in Paris, I was singing in my bedroom, but like very quietly. So I had like my earphones and I was like, on my own, thinking that they wouldn't, So when I came into musical theatre school, I had a tiny voice because I never like experienced kind of singing. But I remember that when we were having like family gatherings or something like that, my dad was like, do you want to play us something on a piano and sing something? Like, when they're like, oh, sing.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. and my dad remembers that. He's like, that was very like quick and you were fearless. And I think I've always wanted to challenge myself. And so it was a good thing to do as well. But practicing, I have to say I was a bit self-conscious. So I think I waited to be at school to do that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Also, like my mom being a singer, like she would never judge anything because we have very different voices, but it's weird.
Just hard.
It's just weird.
You just know that they know is the problem.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do like the same exercises that she was doing. But again, I was more into the dancey stuff before. So in my head, I was like, no, I'm not a singer. Oh no, I can sing, like I can do, but I'm not a singer. I wanted to be like in the ensemble.
Yeah.
But I think I never wanted to be an ensemble, but maybe it was my way of like, kind of starting slow. Maybe.
Yeah, taking the pressure off it.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
When did you make that decision then that I want to be a singer? Is that when you turned 16 or is it beyond that?
So I did my first year when I was 16, started at 16. And then during the summer, I went into a musical theatre camp thing in the UK. I think I don't remember where, it was in the middle of nowhere. And we had like, it was fun. It was like we had lessons, we had little performances like this, and there was a singing competition at the end of it, and I was hanging out with, I think, the medical staff of the thing, and we were like messing around and just singing, and I sang something, I don't remember what, and she was like, "You have to do the competition." I was like, no, I'm not. And I was like, okay, well, I love a challenge. Let's try. And I won. I won the competition. And I think that's why I was like, I think I've always known that I had a voice, but never kind of, I think I was a bit afraid of, I knew how hard it was. So I was a bit afraid to like take the step. And from then, coming back to my second year, I think I tried a bit more to have my voice heard. And it wasn't easy because I think it was quite progressive. It wasn't like, oh, I want to be a singer. It was like, oh, that works. Oh, that has a good response. Or that, and then I think it was like a long process for me to be like, oh, actually, that can work. And then I hurt my knee, so I couldn't dance.
I was just going to say, did that mean that the singing came up to the same level as the
singing?
dancing?
The singing did that basically,
right.
and the, kind of.
Right.
But yeah.
If you hadn't have had that moment of validation, if you didn't do that competition and you didn't win it, do you think you'd be singing?
I have no idea. I think probably, yeah, because it was always in me, I think. But that idea of having validation definitely pushed me to be like, okay, I need to stop being ridiculous and I need to explore that. So it was the beginning of like exploring that voice. It wasn't easy because I wasn't the best at it. But I think my teachers always felt that something was there that needed to be explored, basically. But I think I would have probably at some point, but definitely the validation was important. Yeah.
It is, especially at that age. I think you need some reassurance that you're not going to go out there and make a complete fool of yourself, right? To have
Absolutely.
that moment of...
Yeah, also I was in that course, I was the youngest one. I was 16 and people were 25 to 30.
Wow. And did you know that going into it? Mm-hmm. You're a very brave young lady.
I was like doing my like A-levels at the same time. Yeah, going into... Yeah, it was huge. 3 years of a lot of work and a lot of social difficulties as well because of that. Because of the difference. And I was very determined to improve, and I think people were a bit I would say jealous, but like they were like, who's that?
A little bit wary.
Yeah, they were like, I mean, why are you working so hard? Why are you like staying at the end of the day stretching or like doing your exercise? Like they were a bit more, I don't know, maybe it's because I was younger. I was like, I need to be at the same level, in terms of like not just artistically, but just to fit in. But I didn't fit it. Like it's not possible, because they were like, why are you not like hanging out with us? And I was like, I'm 16 and I have school in the morning and I'm not here to make friends. I don't really care. And they were like, that's rude. I was like, sorry, it's too big of a dream to be worrying about you and about your feelings. I learned a lot in terms of like who I was, and it was difficult sometimes, but it was definitely, it made me stronger.
And was that balanced out at school, or in terms of social, or were you also kind of a fish out of water there because of what you were doing elsewhere?
In high school?
Yeah.
It was a specialized high school for that. So we had like dancers from the conservatoire. We had musicians, also like there was a sports section. Okay. So we were all in the same thing. So I was fitting in then in this place, which was really nice. And then everybody in the afternoon would do their thing, basically.
Right.
So yeah, we just had 5 hours of each day of high school with the same program. So it was a lot of work on top of the other degree,
Yeah.
That's intense.
It's really intense.
It's really intense.
Do you look back at, are you surprised looking back at, when you process that? Does it seem surprising that you managed that, or does that just seem like, no, that was me?
No, I
who
think
I
that was me.
That's amazing.
That was me. It was definitely a struggle because I hated high school because I had that comparison of doing what I loved, but it got me there. It got me here. So I'm like, I no, and I think the amount of work I can take now is also thanks to that. It's thanks to being in an intense kind of, and also like fighting for what you want. Is that idea of like, I know what it feels like. I know that it can work out. I know that this is what you have to do, so I think it was me. Yeah. I couldn't have been like, yeah, I didn't want to wait more time. Very impatient. Yeah.
And did you have opportunity to perform through that time?
During
those
training,
studies, were you doing any?
I was doing like
performing?
I was doing open mics, like to meet people in the industry in Paris, because I was like, I need to network. I was a businesswoman at like 17, 18, but like I knew that I needed to challenge myself, even though I was super nervous to sing, give my sheet music to a pianist and sing in front of industry people. But I think that's what people saw. They were like, okay, she's 18 and she's just doing it. And, and the more I could do that, the more I could feel confident. And then having feedback, knowing what works, what didn't work, and what I could work on to be better. Do you know what I mean? To be better. To grow. Yeah. Yeah.
And at this stage, you're still not working with a teacher, right? Like privately.
No, I wasn't. It was just in the school.
So all the feedback you're getting outside of the school environment is from those kind of sessions.
Yeah, it's more like people that are working.
Yeah.
Or that are also in schools, but it's, industry people that you will meet, in the future in shows and stuff. But yeah, definitely.
So what happens after that course? You 19 by then, or?
I was 18.
18.
My first thing, I did a concert in New York with Carter and Gregor. They're composers, American composers.
Okay.
It was my first kind of professional thing, which was amazing. So I was with Americans, no friend. I mean, it was the first time I had to speak English, like, with people. So it was really, really cool. And then I auditioned for any kind, like everything I could possibly find, like in Paris, children's shows, plays. I did an acting degree after that, just 1 year, just straight acting. And on top of that, I was working in like little things that you're not paid for, like, all of those things, because I was like, I need to now experience and I need to meet people and all of that. Yeah. And then getting ready to do those auditions for drama school in the UK. But then I did Grease in Paris. That was my first kind of big contract with Stage Entertainment. It was a year contract. And I was like, oh, that's actually good because I can save money, because I know London is very expensive. I was like, that's a great way to save money, to have experience. I was studying covering Sandy. I was a dancer in the ensemble. It's good for the CV as well. So, yeah.
And did you have an agent in France, or are you doing that all self-propelled?
Yeah, it's in France. It's not really. You can have an agent, but it doesn't work the same way. We don't have enough shows basically to it's not useful. For screen you do, but not for theatre. It's more about who you know, and you go online and see the castings and like the the stuff like that. Yeah.
There's a moment in time here that I feel like I want to clarify. So you live in Paris, working in Paris, training in Paris. Are you working with your American composers in Paris or in New York? It
was just a week of like rehearsals and then a concert in New York. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. And that was like people were
now we're in New York. That's cool.
because of the open mics. So basically they did a concert, like the first part of the evening was a concert of like new music. And then there was an open mic. So that's also why I went, because I knew that some composers were watching. So I was like,
she is a businesswoman.
I am. She is.
Absolutely is.
And I think that's why, you know, it kind of, yeah.
Were you always okay with traveling, going places and exploring new
That's
cultures
really
and then
new.
getting into it?
It was really new, but I've always known that I wanted to come to London, definitely. New York was chaotic. I mean, it's a lot. I was a bit, oh God, with Americans, and I was, you know, it was hard, but any kind of like hard thing that I went through, I knew it was beneficial because I came out stronger. I was like, if I can do that, I'm capable of anything. So I've always had that perspective of like, even when I get a no from an audition, I'm like, it makes me want to work harder for the next one. That kind of like mindset. I've always had that kind of mindset. So yeah, it was pretty hectic. But I've never toured, I've never done something like that. But yeah, I just knew that I wanted to come to London, definitely.
So you finish Greece?
Yeah.
And
During
then
Greece, I auditioned for a few schools.
Yeah.
And I got into Royal Academy of Music. I got into arts ed first. Mm-hmm. And that's interesting because Royal Academy is 1 year, it's a master's degree. And arts ed is a BA, so it's three years. And I've always loved RAM for some reason. But getting into arts ed, I was like, I need more training because I will need to work on my English. And it was 3 years. And I was like, if it's 3 years, I'll be stronger. So I wasn't confident enough to just do 1 year. So I declined RAM, and Daniel Bowling called me, who's the head of Department of Musical Theatre. And he was like, what are you doing, Lily? And I said, I just need more time to feel that I'm ready. And he was like, that doesn't make sense. You're fine. And I was like, but I'm not from here. I have so much to learn. And he was like, no, I want you to come here. And I was like, okay. And it was interesting because I wasn't confident enough to follow what I really wanted. I was like, no, I need more time.
Yeah.
And that was out of like fear.
That sounds very out of character.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a little moment of doubt.
Yeah, of doubt, of being like, oh, I need more, you know. Because I love training as well.
Yeah.
I love training because also it's safe. So it's a comfort zone for me. Mm-hmm. And Dan was like, you'll meet agents, you'll meet people. And I was like, yeah, that's what I need. That's the next step. And then got into RAM in 2018 when I was 21. Yeah, I just turned 21.
How long was RAM?
It was a year. Yeah, a bit less than a year, but like just 1 year master's degree. Very intense. Very intense. It was amazing though. It was really cool. It's an amazing school.
And how was it dealing with English in such a short space of time? And
at that point I was more confident about my English because I worked. So to work on my drama school auditions, because I had to do Shakespeare and like monologues and all of that. So I worked with a coach who is French but who went to drama school in London. So he knew everything about auditions and English and all of that. So for a year, every week I had 2 hours of coachings of like Shakespeare and monologue, rep. Did a lot of like master classes with English people. So I was more confident with my English. And I was also, my brain was like, I need to learn. I need to push myself and to make mistakes as well. If I don't understand something, I'll just raise my hand. I was like, what does that word mean?
And you did productions or showcases there?
We had showcase for the agents and then a Christmas concert, always directed by people from outside, which was amazing to meet them. And then I did the Wild Party at the end of the year, and I played Queenie.
Why does that make you laugh?
Because she's normally 40.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. We had a lot of creative projects. I did Merrily We Roll Along, a cabaret type of thing. Yeah, very creative, of course.
You come out of the end of that with an agent saying, hello, world, here
Yes.
I am? Yeah?
Yes. From my showcase, which was very lucky. At this point, I didn't know if I wanted to come back to... I felt a bit homesick. And it was scary to be like, okay, now I'm done. It seems to be a very hard industry. And got the agent. And then even in RAM, we were doing auditions, professional auditions. That's where I auditioned for Lim is.
Okay.
And we were actually doing the Wild Party at the same time in rehearsal. So I was going to the audition room, back to tech rehearsals and all of that. And I auditioned for Cosette, which is a soprano part. Queenie is an alto who smokes. So it was very a big stretch. And I really didn't think anything out. Like the audition for Cosette, I was like, it's me, bye. I don't know. It was very, yeah. And then right before I go on stage for Queenie, our company manager in school was like, you got it. I was like, what? And she was like, they offered you the concert version of Les Mis. And I was like understudy? It's like, no. I was like, alternate. No. I was so out of it. I was like, I don't understand what you're saying to me. and so that's how it kind of started. Yeah. So I was employed before finishing.
And then you had to go on stage and perform.
Yeah. So I was like,
nice.
Welcome to my pipeline. I was like processing everything. I was like, and I think what I did was like, I will put that aside for a sec and I'll focus on what I need to do. And then processed. I don't think I've ever processed it, to be honest. It's kind of a blur, but yeah, it was.
Well, it's hard to know how to process that, isn't it? I mean,
no, because people,
you just got to put the next foot in front of you and
and they were like,
it.
it's amazing because you're going to work with Alfie Boe, Matt Lucas, Michael Bull. I was like, I don't know who those people. I am not from here. Who are they? I don't know. And I think it was a blessing because but yeah, it was something. It was very surreal. Very surreal.
Okay, so let's dive into that,
right.
if we may.
Interesting bit.
So it's all interesting. What are you talking about? This episode is sponsored by Vocality, a specially formulated blend of tea for professional voice users. Each ingredient has been carefully selected to help you soothe and take care of your voice. The tea is naturally caffeine-free, suitable for vegans, and does not contain any artificial flavours or colours. Vocality is the secret to vocal clarity in a cup. So tell us, showing up for first day of rehearsal, how's that?
So we had a meet and greet. I hate those so much. I hate it because I was no one. Like everybody was someone. Do you know what I mean, in the industry? And I was like, I had that thing of like, I'm sorry to be here. I don't know, but it's that's the thing. It's very natural and very human, I think.
Yeah.
But and also in the room. Even the ensemble, they all done the show before. I didn't know the words. Even previews, I didn't know the words. I was like, at the end of the day, it was still... I don't... Because it was 2 weeks of rehearsals. Yeah. So we did a run through of just the music, singing in front of everyone. And I was just like, oh. And I think I was like, I need to dissociate. I need to just be the actress. And my feelings are there and I'll deal with them afterwards. I just need to do it and get through it. And then, but I was very shy. It was hard to know who I was in the room. Everybody knew each other, so, but I think I learned a lot about myself. This contract was incredible in a lot of ways because we did the album and the cinema release and all of that. The most stressful day of my life. It was so stressful. But it was, I think socially it was hard. Artistically, I think I found my groove at some point because I was like, oh, I know how to sing the role. they trust me, so I,
Yeah.
but it was more socially because it was different culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, people that were already established. So I was very quiet, not myself.
Did you feel like an outsider?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it feels reminiscent of how you were saying when you were back at camp.
Always. I was the new one, the young one. I've always been that. It's starting to change a bit. But it got the pressure off a bit as well, to be like, you're the new one, But I think being in this room, I was like, I need to find myself as a performer, and also as a human being in this country, in this language, in this. So you try to adjust to everyone. You want everyone to like you and to fit in and all of that. And it's a lot of energy. But I think you have to go through that in the beginning of your career. It's inevitable, I think. But after that, I continued with the Les Mis journey. We opened with the Sondheim at the Sondheim Theatre with the stage version and with John Robbins. I think I felt I knew a bit more what I was doing, and I had a lot of social media presence with the concert, a lot of followers, and that gave me a lot of anxiety as well. It was a lot at once. So I was kind of like following. I wasn't in control really of what I was doing. And it was hard at some point because I developed a lot of stage fright with Cosette because I don't have a lot to do in the show. So I was waiting a lot. And so I developed a lot of like doubts of, gosh, can I do this? Am I capable?
And how did you deal with that going on stage?
COVID.
The problem went away.
Well, I think what I needed to do before every show or before my entrance, I had to do my lyrics in the corner, just doing my lyrics again. I wasn't worried about my voice really, but more about my capabilities as a performer being on stage in front of people. And also to have people in front of you that just assumes that you know what you're doing. So I like fake it till you make it a bit thing.
Yeah.
I talked a lot with John, who was, he's got a long career, so it's always nice to have wise words from someone like this. But I just wanted to go home. I was very homesick. And then COVID happened, and it was a blessing for me at first. Because I could release a bit. Because I had no time between drama school and then Les Mis. I had costume fittings during graduation, before I graduated. Yeah. So I had no moments of, which I'm grateful for, but it was.
Yeah. It seems like there was no time to stop and reconcile the knowledge that you'd been getting from your training, and then
no, and everybody's like, it's amazing you're becoming this, and your career is, and I'm like, yeah, I can't complain. I need to do it, but it was very exposing. Yeah, definitely.
And I suppose maybe a moment of coming face to face with your dream, like you dreamed it,
yeah,
and now you're doing
it's happening. Yeah. So I had also that moment of like, I'm so proud, and I could see that in my parents' eyes, but not in myself, because I was like, it feels very like, sometimes it feels like a struggle to adjust to everything and to everyone. And at the same time, I'm like, tick the box. But I always felt that it was the beginning of something and not an achievement, because I'm always like, oh, it's not enough. I want more. And so I thought, now the work starts. I've done the prep from 13 to now. That's just prep work. Now the work starts. I'm not like, oh, I'm in a West End show. Never. And I felt that opening that. I was like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Did you ever doubt what you'd wanted all that time?
No, never. That was the one thing that sticked with me. Never. All the amount of doubts or fear that I had, I was like, I know it's normal, but the promise that I made to myself is still there.
Do you live for the work and the journey, or the response from the audience?
I think there's a bit of both. I love the journey of it. Yeah. I love it because it's so connected to my deepest self that I always feel so truthful when I work on my craft and all of that, and I just love it as well. But I think there is also a level of wanting the attention. And now I feel like it's changing a bit. I don't look at, the comments on whatever performance I did. I don't like looking at myself. I'm just focusing on the feeling I had on stage. Because I think during Les Mis, I was more worried about what people would think because you need that validation. And I think it's something that it's part of us for any kind of job, I guess. And the more I have experience, the more I can trust that some stuff are enough. And I don't really need the validation of certain people because I found it in myself. And the fact that going through COVID, being unemployed for 3 years with a lot of trauma, the fact that I kept going means that it's not just about the attention, it's about just something that was missing. So I think it depends on your mental health, I guess. It kind of like varies. Yeah. But I'm always very conscious of that because it's never coming from a good place for me if it's just for the attention, because I don't perform well when I do that. Yeah.
So 3 years of COVID, not performing at all?
Yeah, so I went back to France, went back to my boyfriend at the time because we were long distance. And it was very nice to kind of chill. And then there was this talk of doing the concert of Les Mis again at Christmas. And then we had Zoom meetings about reopening the Sondheim, that was ongoing, I guess, for every cast. And basically, they didn't ask me back. So it was really, that was the trauma that I was like, why? So I kind of spent the whole of COVID trying to figure out what happened. So I basically lost my job, and still had my agent, but it was really difficult times because all of the shows were on and then closing again, and all the cast in the shows were staying on because of the security, but I wasn't asked back. So I started to teach singing, as everybody did, on Zoom, which actually was really good. I learned a lot from that, and it made me really think about more on the mental health side of things as well. And it really helped me to stay connected to singing in some way. I did a few concerts as a guest here and there, but went back to London at some point to actually be in the city and try to audition. But I was a struggling actress for whom before everything kind of worked out from 13 to now, to then. And now it was the first time that I really felt that I was fighting for it, which was an incredible feeling. It was very painful, but it was an incredible feeling to feel like you're fighting for something you want and you're not giving up. As painful as it is, sorry. So yeah, singing, teaching. I was a nanny for 2 weeks. Didn't last long. All the, I was doing auditions, going to finals, not hearing back, seeing the cast announced on social media, all of those things kind of, you know, they traumatize you.
Yeah.
And then I got out of that at some point. But yeah, that was mostly teaching.
I think it's really important to acknowledge that. I think there's a perception, especially when you're younger, that you do all the study and you go through and then you bag your first role and then it's like the roller coaster from there. Hopefully the roles just get bigger and bigger and you get...
Yeah.
But actually the reality is it's one role and then it's nothing for ages if the right thing doesn't come along and you're not in the right place at the right time, or that, you know.
And it's all about choices to me, because during that time I re-auditioned for Les Mis but for Fantine. And I went through a few rounds, and before the finals they were like, we want to see you for the finals, but it would be for cover because you're a bit young. I was like, I understand that, but I've done the show as a role and I don't want to be in an ensemble of Les Mis. And talking to my agent, she was like, I know it's hard with the ambition that you have, because you have a choice of going a certain direction and say yes to every kind of job, or choose to struggle a bit more for hoping for something better. So it's all about trusting your abilities and trusting the dream that you had at the beginning. And for me, that's fighting for it. Fighting is saying no to certain things. So I said, I appreciate it. No, thank you. Because I wouldn't be happy. I'd rather struggle a bit more. I've done it for 3 years. I can wait a bit more. So I think it's about having the strength of knowing what you want and believing that it will happen. And that's the biggest strength you can have. It's the bravest thing you can do, in my opinion, for yourself. Because if I would have said yes, I would have disappointed the kid in me. I would have break the promise I made as a kid of, you're going to fight for Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. And my dad has always been like, money is material. You know? It's a real struggle, you know, but what's more important?
Do you ever talk to your younger self?
All the time. I write a lot. I write every day. And recently I was like, I feel like I've achieved what I wanted. And I feel so free from it. And I just feel so, I just see her smiling all the time, which is really good. Whatever struggle, like whatever the things that I'm going through at the moment as well, in like mental health and anxiety, it's there. But if my younger self is like, good job, well done, we've done it, I'm like, that's enough. I can go through anything, you know, because it's she's my light basically, and it's so important to take care of it. Yeah,
it's very beautiful.
We'll get back to the episode in just a minute, but I just wanted to quickly say that 75% of you are not subscribed to this channel. So if you could, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and ding the bell for notifications so you never miss an episode in the future.
So we better tell the story of how we get to the final bit now. How do we get to...
Is it Phantom?
Where you are? I think. Well, you tell me. Is there anything else in between?
Yeah. So I auditioned 3 times for Phantom, 3 different times, throughout a year, over like 2 years or a year and a half. It's a journey. And I auditioned first for cover Christine. I went through, I think I've done the finals. Didn't get it. Because they were like, we want to see you later on for alternate or main Christine. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. So I waited a bit more, did another audition, and went to the finals, didn't get it. This time was pretty hard. And then a little personal thing happened. So I had a choice to choose my career or this. Very weird, because it was a moment where I got a no from a very important audition for me. And I had this choice as well. And I was like, is that a sign? Is that, you know? And I was like, no, I need to choose my career. And to actually actively make a choice of I'm going to focus on that opened so many doors. And I started to audition for a lot of things. And I re-auditioned for Phantom around after the new year, the last time. And it was a long process. Did my first audition beginning of March, got a yes 17th of June. It was a long process. But this process, I was like, my mindset was a bit different, because I was like, if it's not meant to be now, it's never gonna work. So I kind of let go of something, and so I got it this time around. It's been a bit crazy in a great way. I think it opened something in me to be like, because I was struggling. I was like, I just got a no from a big audition, a lot of no's from other auditions, and I was like, where am I going? What's happening? What? 3 years, like I need money. I need to pay my bills. I want to perform. Like, I was very frustrated. There was a lot of frustration, and just to actively say, at the moment, this is the most important thing in my life, is kind of like remaking that promise to myself, which gave me a lot of strength, and a lot of, like, I think in the audition room, it's like, I know I'm made for that. I'm, you know, I belong here, and I actively made that choice, you know, and I had like 2 paths, and I was like, this is this one. I'm not going to give up. And I think that energy kind of released a lot of confidence or trust into the future. And I do believe that in the room, they feel that.
Yes.
They feel that I've got
Yes,
absolutely
absolutely.
nothing to lose. I've been through so much emotionally, you know, with Les and all of that. I've got absolutely nothing to lose. And a no is not going to stop me anymore. I think energetically maybe opened some doors.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything. Because I had a screen job right after that. I booked a job after 3 years, and I was like, what? It's incredible. It's very weird.
What does Christine mean to you?
It means definitely achievement, because in this industry, Christine is one of the biggest role you can do as a soprano. At first, everybody's like, oh, you should play Christine, you're a soprano, you look like Christine. But it's not as easy. I started to work on the role technically 5 years before I auditioned, because I knew that this would be something that would be seen for, especially after doing Cosette. I think Les Mis, I see that as like, oh, I got a bit lucky. Christine, I wasn't lucky. I worked so freaking hard to get it. Whether it's emotionally, technically, physically, all of it. It's my victory. No one can take that away from me. So it's a very personal comeback, I think. So it means a lot in terms of, I think it means actually it's worth it. You know, that's why I worked so hard. And it's a really suited role for me because I never leave the stage. I don't have time to think. I don't have time to be anxious. I don't have time to do all of that. So, because I always need a challenge, I think Cosette, I got a bit bored, and that's where my brain is wandering.
Yeah.
Is doing, ugh. Christine, I'm like, I still have so much to learn vocally on it. I'm still every day working on, oh, that Topsy was a bit shit. I'll have the second show today to try something different. And I never say to myself, oh, you can't do it. I'm just saying, oh, tomorrow you have the opportunity to try again and actually find new things. And that's why it's suited for me, because it challenges me in every way. And my brain is focused on that and not on what people think in the audience. So it's very freeing, I think. Yeah.
How was that on first day of rehearsal?
It was, so the actual first day where we met everyone, I'm playing with John Robbins again. I speak about him all the time, but it was so, it meant so much. We had a long chat with Applause for Thought. So we talked about mental health and all that. That was really good. But the actual first day of rehearsal where we did something, I just didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go home. I was like, this is my playground. I can stay all day.
So very different to the first day of Limis.
Yeah, it is. But it also, again, reminds me of how you were saying earlier about you were always the last one to leave and you were doing your stretches when you were training and all this kind of stuff. It seems like this was
yes,
you.
Because I'm very disciplined. Coming from a gymnastic background, doing championships, it's you learn discipline. And first, I see it as a sport, a competitive sport, but with yourself, not with others. Absolutely not. You can't compare. It's different in that sense. But in a way, I work. My brain is wired to be an athlete because I was, and so the discipline of it. There's also bad things about not being good enough and all of that, and that's different. But it's just to always push further. And I think I found a good positive balance on that, to not be like pushing further for the wrong reasons, because you need to feel like you're good enough and accept that sometimes it's not a great show that you're doing. And now I'm fine with that, thanks to you, actually, since we've been working together, so I came to you because of my perfectionism. And my perfectionism is the pressure I put on myself is so much that it was affecting my performance. And now with Christine, because I feel like it's mine in terms of like, not compared to anybody else, but because it was my fight for so long that now I'm like, there's no way I'm going to let it go into a negative kind of, putting pressure on myself too much. It's, I'm just trying to do my job for other people. But the work that I do in terms of what I want to achieve in the role, artistically, vocally, I'm staying at the end of rehearsals because I love it, not to prove anything, just because I love it. So, and it's a big part of me. It's a big part of me. Yeah. You
mentioned dealing with performance anxiety things at the moment. Is that something?
Yeah. So recently, weirdly, I've been forgetting lyrics all the time, which is weird. So I started Phantom, and my personal life changed completely. I split up with my partner, and so everything kind of went, so my work life is extraordinary. I'm having, an amazing time, but at the same time I'm dealing with personal things, and Christine is taking your whole life. Yeah. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of preparation, it's a lot of, and also when I enjoy something, I just want to, not in a healthy way, be busy. Yeah. So I've been dealing for the first time with anxiety and sleeping issues and all of that, and to do my job I need to be able to be strong enough because I'm leading a show. And so I've been working on that, but I've always felt that being on stage was always a good, like a safe place. But sometimes, some weeks, I have moments of like, what's happening? And when I see that, I'm like, there's something I need to change, but I'm not beating myself up about it, which I think is the difference. Yeah. Because sometimes it can bring a lot of frustration. You're like, no, I need to be able to do my job. Why can't I? I need to, But because I've been consistent with the role and I've been, I think, doing a good job, I'm trying to put the pressure off, be like, it's normal to feel, you can feel anxious while being happy. And I think what I'm learning now is you can be happy and unhappy at the same time, which is weird, but it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think there is a perception that we feel one emotion at a time, and I think that's nonsense.
Yeah.
I think we exist on in many states at any given time, given the context we're in at that time.
Yeah.
And I think if you're in a workplace and that's completely absorbing you, it is possible to put those other things down for a while.
Yeah.
Which actually in that instance maybe makes that really healthy.
Yeah.
So long as you're not constantly running away from the other thing, you know, to give yourself rest from it. And
what I'm trying to
respite.
work out as well is to remember that it's a workplace. It's not just it is a bit therapeutic, but that's personal. That you keep that to yourself, right? You don't want to bring that to your company office. What I'm accepting now is that my job is me, and that's unhealthy. I know that, but accepting it is healthy because it has been a goal since I was 13. This has been every day on my mind. How can I be like, yeah, this is my job, but I have my life. No, my life is my job. Yeah. I've been focused on it since I was 13. And I've apologized to myself now for feeling frustrated about this because I'm like, no, Lily, this was your biggest dream and you're achieving it now. It's okay to feel that everything is mixed up. You'll find the balance. Yeah. But your job is you. It's a big part of you, you know? I moved to London for work. This is where I'm happy. So it is a part of me.
Yeah.
You know? I don't have any other hobbies. I do, but like tiny things. I don't. Some people, I love the people that are like, yeah, I do crochet, I do this. And on my free time, it's like, my free time, I sing.
Yeah.
I work on my straw. I work on whatever, you know. I do secret sing. I do. So it's unbalanced, but beautifully unbalanced as well.
Yeah.
I think.
You mentioned this is it, you've achieved it. So do you have a notion about what comes next?
Recently, there's something that is new. There's a new feeling in me. Before, I've always been, you know, I can get bored very easily. I always need more. It's never enough for me in terms of challenge. I need to push to pursue that dream. And it's the first time that I feel like I've landed somewhere. Mm-hmm. Now I have the stability. And I don't feel the need to fulfill that non-enoughness in terms of, you know, I'm like, oh, now I can focus on me. Mm-hmm. I feel challenged enough. I feel happy enough in my job. I don't have the need to put something else on my CV. I don't have the need to prove anything to myself. I don't care. Which is very weird. Because my brain is like, what's happening? You're not running anymore. You know, it's and now that I feel, oh, I have a stable job where I feel happy, I can rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can just breathe. And the thing that I wrote recently in my journal about my little self and the achievement that I feel I accomplished, it's like, it's my 13-year-old self being like, you've done it. You can rest now. You've done it. You can have a breather before the next dream. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And it's so, it's very weird. It's very weird. But it's so freeing because it's that feeling of, I don't need to prove anything to myself or to any other people. Because it's, and I'm continuing to work on, you know, singing lessons, and I do cabarets and I do concerts, but that's because I always need to do new things. I'm looking artistically to new ways to improve, because for me it's if I don't learn anything new in a job, that's where there's a problem. And that's where I'll be like, I need to move on. Yeah. Actually, my next goal while doing Phantom would be to dance again. So that's another dream, but it's for me. It's not for... Yeah. Well, I guess it's useful for auditions, but it's more like to reconnect to how it started. Yeah. As it's still going. You know? Yeah.
It's glorious.
It's amazing. It's all worth it. I'm glad that, it's amazing.
Lily, thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
so generously of your experience.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
me. I love
Telling us
talking
your
about these
wonderful
things.
story. We're not actually done with you quite yet because this is the 5-minute call.
Yeah.
So we would love to know, what do you do at the 5-minute call?
I'm going to be honest. At the moment, I don't do a lot. I don't do anything. I go to the bathroom.
Yes,
I get
that's
changed.
a common one.
I get changed. I chat with my dresser. I take the pressure off. I have time before the beginning of the show, before I go on stage, to center myself. I decide I do my makeup not too early because I don't want to have too much time before the show. It needs to flow. It needs to, if I have time to think, be like, okay, I'm going to do Phantom now. That's when my brain's like, oh. So I usually, the moment where I focus is during the first scene, the auctioneer scene, before the overture. I just go in the staircase and I breathe and I check in with my voice. But I see some, the same people at the same time, those kind of rituals. But at the 5-minute call, I relax. I try to not be focused too soon
Yeah.
because it's tiring
Yeah.
for this role because I think this role is so hard for focusing. It's hard vocally, but it's the focus. So I try to relax and to still be connected to myself. I don't look at my phone. I don't look at social media. I try to not put too many thoughts in my head, because then that's why I'm a bit distracted. So I try to, and meditation music sometimes, essential oil.
Oh, sounds heavenly. Can I come sit in your dressing
Yeah,
room?
it's actually very chill. Like it's very.
Anyone needs a chill zone
It's-
in London.
Oh,
7:25,
all the
Lily's
wiggies,
dressing room.
the wiggies, the my dresser were quite like chill. Put the wig on. How are you doing? How was your Sunday? It's very much like that. And then let's do the
Beautiful.
show.
Then
Think
let's
of me.
go.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Amazing.
I
Okay.
love it.
Thank you. We have
one tradition
Yeah.
on this podcast where we get the guest of the previous episode to write a question
Ooh.
for you or for the new guest. Wow. Well, I'll just read it. Otherwise, I'm
okay.
just.
Yeah.
Is theatre relevant in the modern world?
Wow.
Oh.
Just a little thing to conjure with.
Just to talk about at the end of it. Wow.
Like-
Is theatre relevant in the modern world?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's hard because being in the industry, it's your world. So I'm trying to put myself into like a person that's not in that world.
It's
and
very
come
hard
the
not to
theatre.
immediately go, I'm defending it because
Yeah. Theatre can make you think, can make you laugh, can make you cry. It just makes you feel, and you can identify yourself into certain characters or stories. It's for me, it's creating a world. You have so many different styles and genres of theatre. I think it's to be able to open yourself up to stories, and to escape, definitely, to escape for 2-3 hours. And it's hard. Because we're not saving lives, like we said. But sometimes we do.
No, but I would add
Sometimes we do.
I think to add to what you've said, which I completely agree with, I think there is a really key element with theatre, which is that it is in real life, in person.
Yes.
And in this day and age,
Yes.
where we are all digitally connected to one another, but not necessarily physically and, in the same space. Yeah. I think to go and hear those stories, because, I love television, I love film, I adore being told a story in any format, but when you are there live in person, there is a different energy. Absolutely. And you're sharing it with a whole bunch of hundreds of other people who all chose to come and see that thing as well. I actually got really I got really emotional at the pantomime this year. Listen, I always get emotional on the overture to anything, but Phantom's the worst. Cry every time. But yeah, I was sat at the Palladium and just looking around all these people who came from so many walks of life. But I imagined that some of them, maybe that's their one theatre trip every year, right?
Yeah.
But the point was, it was like, and I was talking about this with a friend of mine who said it's like church. It's like everybody gathers together to do one thing and experience it together.
I agree. I think also it's out of reach. It's real. It's you see it live.
Yes.
You see the people on stage. You see, it's different from screen, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's accessible.
Yes.
It's something that's the closest you can get to the art, and
Yes.
and to almost touching. Sometimes,
Yes.
with the immersive guys indoors now. It's
Yes,
just
yeah.
you're in. It's a very different experience from screen, definitely.
Oh, no, I was going to say that, fundamentally I agree with everything, but I also think theatre has and always will have the very unique ability to highlight things that are happening in the world or in history and bring them to the forefront to get people thinking about them. Yeah. And I think that's a really important role, not just for that escapism aspect, but to think about stuff that is important and happening and relevant.
And it's representing the society as well. And now we're doing a better job with diversity and all of that. And it's a long process at the moment. And I think it's so important to people to see, like it's a way to see the world we're living in as well. And I think we're doing better with that. But it's a representation of us. So in a beautiful way.
And my final thought on this is coming back to your, forgotten lyric or whatever. Everything we are watching on TV or listening to on the radio or anything has been tweezed and perfected and blurred. Yeah. And actually to be in the presence of something that is happening in real time and has mistakes in it, I think is reassuringly human.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love when I see actors laugh on stage.
Yeah.
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 Because they're like, oh, you're real.
Yeah.
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 You are real.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, thank you to
Thank
that
you
question
so
writer.
much. Well,
we're going to invite you to
to
write a question in a minute.
Okay,
but we'll
amazing.
do that off camera.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Next Monday on the 5 Minute Call.
There was this expectation that this person will sort out the blue light ambulance call who's coming at 2 a.m. on their own. And you're 24, 25 at the time, thinking, oh my God, what is happening?
In this episode, we're talking to Dr. Martin Sawiris.
Dr. Martin is a member of the Royal College of General Practice and holds a Bachelor of Medicine and a Bachelor of Surgery, and talks to us about life, medicine, performance, and when to prioritise your health.
I don't know how somebody who's doing 8 shows a week, sometimes they are utterly exhausted. But that drive to not take a break, the thing I worry about from that perspective is getting burnt out. I remember I got a phone call one day. He needed somebody to look after his company. I said, wow, sounds incredible. Who's this? He said, well, it's Cameron McIntosh.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the 5 Minute Call. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and ring the bell for notifications. Your support really does help us bring you more amazing stories.
If you are or have been affected by any of the topics discussed in this episode, please see the show notes below for some helpful resources.